it's at the end, what the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological identities.
Why? Why do they always have to look like the worst supervillain imaginable? Do they have to make it that obvious? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Lukadowski of WeAreChange.org. That man that you just saw talking about transhumanism being an integral part to the Great Reset is, of course, Klaus Schwab, the head guy behind the World Economic Forum, or as some people are calling him now, the Supreme Globalist Goblin Overlord. I didn't say it. Some people are saying it, though. He, of course, has a very long career of being around many powerful globalists, like pictured here at Davos with Henry Kissinger, and the child-abusing former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Edward Heath. Man, if you don't know about Edward Heath, seriously, just do a little search on him right now, and you'll be shocked to see what you find that the previous Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was up to. Now, very interestingly, a lot of these globalists have found a new ally in their pursuit of a global reset. And yes, it is the Pope, which we're going to be talking about extensively in this video, as well as the larger implications of the, quote, global reset and redefinition of capitalism. But before we get into that, plus a lot more, in other news, I do have to say that information surrounding the concholeal sickness jab is not very promising, as some people are reporting facial paralysis and developing Bell's palsy after taking the Pfizer jab. And it's important to note here that this has only happened to, quote, 3 volunteers, but most importantly, the United States FDA regulators are still unclear about how this happened. As of yet, there has been no official statement by Pfizer, which you would think as the producer of this jab, they would have something to say about people literally getting facial paralysis from their medicine, which they have no liability of. Call me crazy, but I think we should have some public statements, some accountability and transparency, especially from a company that's being subsidized by the taxpayer and faces no legal repercussions for whatever they may do. I know, right? Totally crazy, guys. Whoa! But yeah, that would be the logical common sense solution to all of this, and it's something that we don't have. And with this news and other problems with this jab, a major American university that receives money from the taxpayer just made this jab mandatory only for white students. I am not joking you. Cornell University in New York is openly admitting its racially discriminatory practices, which specifically targets white students and mandates that they go through a mandatory jab of this. Remember, guys, this is all financed by your tax dollars, and there's a lot of public figures asking you to subsidize these universities on a bigger scale. So yeah, I think that's a bad idea. Also, in other news, do you remember that Hunter Biden story that we were actually talking about on this independent media broadcast, referring to some actual troubling news surrounding the son of Joe Biden and his close ties and business dealings with China? Remember how the mainstream media obfuscated it, ignored it, or ran defense for the Bidens along with the big tech social media giants that censored any legitimate information and stories surrounding it? Remember when they told you no problems existed, or they just totally made sure you couldn't see that story? Do you remember? Well, now we're getting information that there's an actual criminal investigation against Hunter Biden for, of course, potential money laundering and his offshore business dealings. And now he is facing a federal investigation for potential tax-related malfeasance, with his ties to the Chinese government, including the acknowledgement of a Beijing professor talking about the Chinese involvement with Hunter Biden. This is definitely going to be a very interesting investigation, especially now since the mainstream media is actually acknowledging it when they previously ignored it. Even Piers Morgan made the statement of saying, "Can you imagine the howls of outrage if Don Jr. had been under federal investigation for tax fraud and nobody had told the voters while the media looked the other way. Quote, this Hunter Biden cover-up stinks. And I don't agree with Piers Morgan on much, but he's absolutely right here. In response to all of this news, Joe Biden came out and said that he is proud of his son. What else did you expect him to say? And while the mainstream media, along with social media, peddles absolute nonsense and censors and destroys any legitimate form of journalism, critical thinking, outside-the-box research, and questioning of authority, we, of course, as an independent news channel, get hit very severely by that policy, as, of course, the garbage is promoted, shoved down your throats, put on the front page, promoted in the algorithm. Meanwhile, we are demoted, downranked, and of course now 100% demonetized. In response to this, way before I made a t-shirt that said, hey guys, I'm demonetized. And now, one of the ways that we are able to actually exist as an independent news organization is by selling some of these shirts. This is a new one that we just literally launched that is called The New Normal. I think you guys will really like it. You could get them for just around $24, and with rushed delivery, you could get them before Christmas. That, along with many other t-shirts you could get on our store, which of course is linked down in the description below. Click on that link and you could see my manifestations of creativity and dribble literally presented to you through our merchandise store, which you could also get the hat that I'm wearing right now at the store. Have to say, great way to pick up some critically thinking, smart, intelligent ladies and definitely start a conversation with the people around you. Get the merchandise just by clicking the description link down below. Now, just jumping into our main story, the Pope's up to some shady business, to say the least, as of course he is now officially aligned, a part of a new global alliance that has been orchestrated by the Rothschild family. Yes, the Rothschild family is building a coalition of multinational corporation, big banks, pharma companies, along with the Ford Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation to, quote, redefine capitalism. This is a word often also used by Klaus Schwab, who also says we need to redefine capitalism for his greater goals of a great reset, for a new model that compensates social, political, and natural capital, not of course just financial. Again, very generalized, bland terms, but it's pretty much the super wealthy, the super rich, the super establishment telling you that they're going to fix all of your problems. They're going to make everything fair. There's going to be a lot of equality, and it's all going to be done for the public good. Because, you know, nothing says taking care of the environment like Johnson & Johnson and BP, British Petroleum, two major institutions that are a part of this new global alliance with the Pope to redefine capitalism. And you know, nothing says equality like Bank of America, MasterCard, Salesforce, and Visa, who along with the Rockefeller Foundation have been institutionalizing economic inequality, making them the super rich ever since the start of their existence. I'm sorry, the multinational corporations and the big banks that have been enriching themselves in record numbers, promising to fix all of their wrongdoings just by simply giving them more power, is a very naive and ridiculous idea. And when we look at this article and the framing behind this fourth industrial revolution about equal outcomes, fairness, we are seeing generalized language by what some people would criticize the worst elements of our modern day society. Now, when you actually go on the World Economic Forum website, you see a lot of the same, almost exact language as exemplified by Miss Rothschild and her quotes about this global alliance. It is almost certainly in line, almost identical to the World Economic Forum website that also very generally talks about all of these key gushy words like the public good. But when you really look into what the World Economic Forum is talking about, they are talking about more taxes, more regulations, and more trade agreements like the TPP. Their talks of equality and sustainability with the, quote, fourth industrial revolution essentially, under all of the circumstances, takes away power from the individual, from people, and it allows the government and special elites with insurmountable power that would stop any individual from competing with them, as essentially it would stomp out any private business or enterprise from ever emerging. This is why on the World Economic Forum website, it detailed how you will own nothing, have no privacy, and quote, be happy. Yeah, that's just slavery in other names. And it's not just the Rothschild and her coalition and Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum that are promoting this idea of a global reset. It is also individuals like Bill Gates, the same individual that is fueling medical institutions to the tune of billions of dollars, including institutions like the IHME, which the mainstream media and even the White House source as their primary form of information throughout this entire conholio sickness scandal. And this is an institution that people need to realize is being bankrolled by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is an institution that has been described by the nation as an institution with monopoly power that plays by a different set of rules than the rest of the scientific community. It is important to point out that they have been wrong with their projections, which are usually months out, and has had other scientists find impossible to replicate or verify their estimates. Now, of course, many institutions that are independent of Bill Gates' money, which is not many individuals, are afraid of the supposed Bill chill, which the nation describes as their reluctance to, quote, bite the hand that feeds them. Since, of course, Bill Gates has money throughout all of the major medical institutions all around the world. The IHME is one of the biggest ones that has been proven wrong, has had already severe impacts on the world, damaging public health, while, of course, releasing data that's regurgitated by the mainstream media and some governments without any form of accountability, nor making the data publicly available, while oftentimes obfuscating and hiding how many special interests literally finance some of their studies and findings, including companies like Chevron that ask them to look into climate change. Yes, Chevron asking to do scientific research on climate change. There's definitely going to be no conflict of interest there. And as many people criticize, a lot of these studies are done to get the results of the special interest that want to get them done. And this is one key institution that is literally controlling the narrative surrounding the conholio sickness, which has essentially led to the evisceration of many people's individuals' liberties and freedoms in the United States, as captured by this photo, which speaks absolute volumes as a police officer stands to arrest what looks like a military vet for simply being on the beach alone with a sign that reads Land of the Free. And it's not only liberties that have been affected here, as of course depression amongst men has gone up almost 69% in some demographics, while poverty has increased to the tune of 8 million people that are now in it, not because of the conholio sickness, but because of government policies that are not even based in science. The global numbers, by the way, are that 150 million people are going to be brought into extreme poverty because of the insane moves by government, which, again, aren't backed by science, as we see the, quote, health officials taking these numbers that have been influenced by special interests and implementing policies that are not even backed by the science, like we recently saw by this creature, which is actually the health director of Los Angeles. Yes, this lady is in charge of your health in Los Angeles, and she's the one that instituted bans on outdoor dining, even though there's no evidence found of it, which we found out in the court of law. We knew this already. We were calling this out on this independent show already for a long time. But now, through an official court proceeding, we found out that there was no logic, no science, no evidence, just this creature literally destroying the lives and livelihoods of individuals. Why? Well, we don't know. So on top of all of this suffering, the World Economic Forum wants to tell you that being in misery under the complete control of individuals like that, giving them more power, having more taxes, more regulations, more benefits towards them while taxing you and controlling you to a way where you can't exist independently of them, along with you not owning anything and not having privacy, is an excellent idea? And I say absolutely hell freaking no. If you agree, share this video with your friends and family members. It's more important and imperative than ever, because if you don't share it, you can bet your bottom dollar that there are algorithms and predictive programming and other nonsense and hooey and bull crap that's preventing these important messages from getting out there to the general public. You're lucky to get these messages, and I am extremely lucky to still be here, since, of course, there's been a lot of people that have been absolutely obliterated, absolutely deleted, absolutely destroyed by the big tech social media giants that essentially look like they are part of this larger movement, which is more and more being promoted by the establishment. I am not. I think that's a bad idea, and I think we all need to voice those opinions more than ever. Get this video out there. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. This is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.